Food as a weapon is not a new idea, or I should put it another way, the lack of food as a weapon is not a new idea. It's been around since ancient times. You know, siege warfare had a lot to do with preventing food and water from getting to the populace of a fortified city or from entire countries. Presently, we do the same thing. When I say we, I mean men to other men and women and children. You know, Henry Kissinger not too long ago said that food would be a weapon that we should exploit. Again, either food as a weapon with additives, poisons, those types of things, or just withholding food altogether. One of the most prime examples of using food as a weapon to destroy people was in Soviet Russia during the Stalinist purges of the peasants and the White Russians. First of all, it came out as regulating the food as far as what was being grown and who could grow it, and then ended up using the control of the property and of the ground to prevent any agriculture at all, and the people starving to death by the millions. Well, if you look at what's happening in the United States today, in particular, around the world and other places too, but particularly here, you will see that those exact same things that Stalin used in the 30s in Russia, in the Soviet Union, Soviet Russia, and that have been used throughout history are happening here in the United States under the guise of land management, of protecting endangered species, or whatever the new fashionable thing is that people will fall in for to stop them from being able to do this. Now, I'm not saying that the management of the land is a bad thing, but that's not what's really happening here. And I think we saw that at the Bundy Ranch with the so-called, and I mentioned this several times during this video, the so-called endangered desert tortoise, which isn't endangered at all. As a matter of fact, the BLM was killing thousands of them because there were too many of them. And they're doing the same thing here in the San Joaquin Valley, citing fish, insects, birds, you know, and any number of things. As a matter of fact, what happens in this whole scenario is that when a piece of land is identified as for these foreign international corporations to take control of, or elites in general to control the population, what they do is they say to these organizations, go out and find us an endangered species that we can list as being part of the problem that we have to save, and that'll be our excuse for doing it. So anytime they go out, they'll find 4 or 5 possible species that they can list as endangered, and then take over the land, impose restrictions or whatever. So during this video, I'm going to show you some of the signs that have been put up by the locals and give you some of the background about what's happening here. It's not in depth by any means. I'm actually traveling through here, but it's something I've wanted to discuss for a long time, so I figured today was the day. Again, you know, there's a lot going on as far as what the elites are trying to do to mankind in general, and we could manage ourselves, but this is about setting up a situation where they can tell us that they're going to eliminate 90% of us and then feel free in their conscience to do so. Am I an alarmist? Look at history, folks. You know, read their white papers. This isn't just me or other people that are warning you about this. This is really happening, okay? All right, well, let me show you around a little bit about some of the things I found. One of the things that I wanted to take pictures of, and I haven't been able to get there because of the way the roads are, is a lot of downed trees that have dried up in place and have fallen over. These would be nut trees, citrus fruit trees, etc. And whole orchards, hundreds and maybe thousands of acres have just died from lack of water. And you know, as I talked about Stalin and killing people off using food, these trees that are dying are a really good example of, as a matter of fact, I'll just put it this way, in the scriptures, men are often referred to as trees. And so seeing these dead trees by the thousands kind of hits home if you understand what the significance of that is. What I'm going to show you here is the San Joaquin Valley. That's looking north towards Sacramento. The aqueduct right there in front of you is the California Aqueduct. And I'm going to take you on around east here, let you see what it looks like. You can see how agriculturally rich this is. Grapes, citrus, garden vegetables, nuts, just about anything and everything that can be grown here. That's why it's such an important agricultural treasure. I would guess that this is probably one or two real bread baskets for the world as far as food is concerned. I tilted the camera a little bit there, but I think you get the idea. I'm going to widen the lens here now so you can see the expanse of this and go back through it again. Now, I'm pretty far up north now in the San Joaquin Valley, but I just wanted you to get a good picture of what this is like here. And we're looking down south now, a little bit further towards where Los Angeles would be, Bakersfield, those types of things. Anyone who's traveled the San Joaquin Valley in Central California has seen these signs about the water crisis here. They blame, of course, Boxer, Costa, and Pelosi. Now, behind this is a field, and they're growing something. I'm not sure what that is. I think it's alfalfa. The point is, this area is capable of tremendous agricultural productivity. As a matter of fact, if it's not the #1 area in the world for agriculture, it's certainly one of the most important ones. Over on the other side of the road there, you can see the same type of like alfalfa or whatever, and then off in the distance there you can see orchards of, I believe they're pecans or almonds or something like that. The point is, the San Joaquin Valley is a rich agricultural treasure. Now there's a sign there that shows you again how the locals feel about it. It says, "Welcome to Southern California Restricted Water Delivery Area. Join FamiliesProtectingTheValley.com." Now, I'm going to show you the other side of the freeway over here, and you'll see corn. There's a field of corn over there, and it stretches for, acres and acres and acres, probably thousands of acres. But then, as I showed you on this side, you know, there's nothing growing. It's just dried up land. So this valley is capable of a diversification of agriculture, from nut and fruit trees to corn, broccoli, all manner of vegetables and fruits basically. Plus they raise cattle here. I've seen sheep, all sorts of domesticated animals. I'm sure there are even chickens and all that. The point is, the San Joaquin Valley is a breadbasket. Like I said, if it's not the #1 in the world, it's certainly up there high on the list. Dried, sunburned fields. No, these aren't laying fallow here, or lying fallow. They're not able to plant here. They're under these water restrictions. I'm going to cross the road here. This field over here looks like it's been plowed, but not being used. Of course, there's still a lot of agriculture. There really is. But the amount of water restrictions are just prohibitive for really doing what they should be doing. I talked about cattle in this valley, San Joaquin, and here they are. Okay, I wanted you to see this sign here before I show you the next thing. I want to point out that this is not just because California is suffering a drought right now. This has been a political decision made a long time ago, and they've based it on nefarious things, as they did at Bundy Ranch, and questionable things like, you know, the survival of the desert tortoise, that it was an endangered species there on Bundy Ranch, or here some insect or frog or bird. And these things, they decide they want the land for one reason or another. And so there are groups of people that come out here and will find a quota of endangered species, or at least designate them that way. And that's part of the problem. Now I want you to see this. This is a grove of trees. Same kind of trees we've been seeing, probably nut trees. I don't believe these are citrus trees, but they're nut and fruit trees. Look at this. They're letting entire orchards dry out and die. There are other places I can take you to. I'm hoping I can find them where the trees are falling over now because they've been dry for so long. Again, this isn't just a recent development because of the drought. This has been an ongoing political decision with Pelosi, Boxer, and Costa all agreeing to this and getting the Congress to go along with it. And of course the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, enforces all of this, and they're heavy-handed, just like they were at Bundy Ranch. So these people have had their water supply cut. Again, not just because of the drought. This has been a political decision based on a lot of things, and it affects your food supply. Oh, by the way, things that are not justifiable, not in any way, shape, or form to the extent that we see here. And then, of course, this affects your food supply. The wanton destruction and killing of cattle by the BLM at Bundy Ranch, and their mismanagement of that, and even the way that they were trying to corral those cattle. And then here with food that could be feeding the hungry. This is affecting the local economy, of course, affecting the food supply. Just wanted you to see that so you'll know that this is going on. It's a widespread problem everywhere in this country. San Joaquin Valley here is just a prime example. I don't know if you can see that sign. It says, "Stop the Congress-created Dust Bowl," which is just my point. You may wonder why I pay so much attention to these signs. It's because then you know it's not just me talking about this. And you know from these that it's pretty damaging what's going on here. They're talking about a 50% cut in 2010. I just talked to a gentleman who asked not to go on camera, that it's going to be 20% next year. 20% of the water that they need for this valley. That's all they're going to get. And you can see that if you ever want to contact anybody about this, there it is right there. It's familiesprotectingthevalley.com and also waterforall.com. Of course, this kind of thing really impacts Southern California and the rest of the nation for food costs, just as it says. Again, another sign. And I want to point out again that the water management by the legislature here and the federal government is just ridiculous. Again, based on not just the supposed endangered species, which of course are contrived by and large, as I pointed out, like the desert tortoise at Bundy Ranch, but also because they emptied the reservoirs for no reason, way too early. It was almost like it was a conspiracy, a plan, and I'm sure they've got all kinds of reasons for stating they needed to do that. But this is what it's caused. Now, I'm a little too far away from that grove right there to show you, but you see how parched that is? They're letting all of those trees die. Remember the ones I showed you that were already dead? These are almost there. An entire grove that goes on for hundreds and hundreds of acres that they're just letting die. All that work, all that sweat, all those people that could be fed by these things, and they're just letting it dry out and die. And of course, California is famous for grapes. This grape grove, orchard, I forget what they call it, I'm not sure. But anyway, this is acres and acres of grapes. And then back there you can see a healthy orchard of green trees, of nuts or fruits, whichever those are. These are being watered. Now I've passed probably thousands of acres of grapes that are drying out right now. And of course the tree groves that we've seen. So again, San Joaquin Valley is capable of some excellent agriculture, but they're shutting the water off, and not just for the endangered species. I believe that this is all part of Agenda 21. You can see they are actually watering these here. You can see that water right there. To cut off the food supply and basically to cut down the numbers of people that are living on this earth. And I agree that you can't overpopulate it. You can, but with the proper management, we can do a lot better than we're doing. And killing people off by starvation or wars, or as what's happening over with the earthquake that just happened at Napa Valley, you know, that whole fault line, they've built nuclear reactors, power plants along that fault line. And just like Fukushima, it's a time bomb here when those things are going to happen. So they're poisoning the water, they're shutting off their water, they're allowing radiation to seep into our environment for various reasons, almost as if they designed it this way. Again, we can't save all of humanity, especially not with wicked men doing what they're doing. But we should prepare to try to help our families. Food, water, all the things that we need for survival. Getting our friends together, getting ready to get out of this system if you can. Let me take you across the street here and show you this grove. I pointed this out from a distance, but I want to walk right up to it and let you see. You see the healthy stuff that's right here. They're actually watering that. But look at this over here. This hasn't been watered in a long time. And this entire grove is now dying. Can you see this? Again, this is not because of a lack of water. I mean, California is suffering a drought right now. But this has been going on for years and years where they're doing this. They're taking over the land, taking it out of productivity. Not fallowing it, allowing it to recover, but destroying it. That's what they're doing here. And I think that distinction is very important to understand. So I wanted to do this documentary really quick. I haven't been asleep for a couple of days for a lot of reasons. You know, I made the Shane Harger video after I found out what was going on there, and some other things that have been going on. But I just felt like I needed to talk about this, because as with Bundy Ranch, it is about the land, getting the land out of the hands of the people, cutting down the food supply, like with the slaughter of the cattle, cutting down the ranchers so they can't produce. And here, agriculture, destroying our agricultural capabilities. This is a war on